Hi folks, welcome to the Candidates Forum. I'm Dave Gallus, your host today. We're here with Bev Courtney, who's running for Las Cruces mayor. Welcome again, Bev.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
You too. Last time you had a gun with you. Well, it wasn't a gun. It was a simulated gun with a laser sight, and Bev was demonstrating how to use the gun. So remember, anybody that wants to learn how to handle a gun, a lot of people I think are afraid of guns. That's why they think they're terrible. But if you go to Bev's business, where's your business, Bev?
It's called Bev's Outdoor Sundries and Shooter Supply at 2645 Missouri Avenue, Suite 1.
Suite 1. It's a small store in a group of stores, and you can go in there and you can handle a gun that feels just like the real thing. So you don't have to be afraid of it. It won't go off, and she'll show you things you wouldn't know. So you can learn about gun safety. But today we're going to talk about something different, corruption in city council. Do you think there's any corruption in city council?
Well, I have been up close and personal to corruption in city council.
All right.
Which is one reason that I want to be here talking about election integrity and government integrity, because I've seen too many people since I've been here betray the public trust. And so while we're at it, I'll just mention a few. The recent county clerk had to resign because of a scandal. There's been no more news about that, so I don't know if he actually had charges or not.
Right.
Under Lynn Ellens, there was a couple of people that were doing identity theft and scamming people for their tax return.
This is that are working for the city?
Yes,
or the
they were
county?
working for the county clerk.
For the county?
Yes.
Oh my, okay.
Yes.
And the county clerk is handling elections this year for the city.
Yeah, it's not the same county clerk, but it's in that same office.
Right.
They have this kind of history of corruption, and we never hear if they paid for their criminal deeds.
Right, sure. They just left office.
The two that did identity theft and that took people's taxpayer return, they were charged with criminal
and they
penalties.
should. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Wow. And I understand too that there's a lot of money that's collected from the citizens of Las Cruces that really is exorbitant. You know, it's much more than what people should pay. You were telling me before the show a little bit about somebody getting a ticket, a $400 ticket.
Well, what I see, Dave, is that the government bureaucrats are looking for every way they can to take the taxpayers' money. They're greedy about it. So, I already talked about how they passed the GRT tax when
Gross
it wasn't
receipts
even
tax.
running out. And they got double of what the original was. So they're actually getting triple taxes right now. The county also raised taxes at the same time.
Wait a minute, didn't the state get a lot of money through the oil and natural gas industry?
Well, this was the last recent history, like 2015.
Okay.
This was all happening.
Okay.
So people were trying to do a recall because they also raised the minimum wage, which is actually kind of like a tax because it puts more of a burden on a business to pay more.
And some businesses will go out of business because
and
of
they
that.
are going out of business.
Right.
Yeah. So what else? Oh, my friend was just telling me her daughter got a ticket. And she's 18. I don't know if she's finishing high school or starting college. And so she was close to her house, didn't have her seatbelt on. She got stopped because she forgot something at the house and made a U-turn on a residential street. They charged her $415 for just these minor traffic violations.
For a seatbelt?
And she had insurance, but she didn't have the right card with her.
Well, we have it, $400.
So she's not employed, so guess who pays that?
Mom.
Her mom, who's...
Does her mom vote? Because that's a good thing. If her mom votes...
I hope her mom votes. She should vote.
Okay.
And I understand that you have to do traffic violations, but we have a high poverty level, and I haven't looked at those numbers in a couple of weeks, but doesn't that seem exorbitant burden on a family, a hardworking mother?
It does to me. Yeah.
Who's trying to get her daughter through school. And,
well, I think the city taxes when... do they really have to? To me, it's a matter of management of money, management of funds. So,
I think they should have a different attitude. I think they should have an attitude of service, of helpfulness. There's a lot of anger about the ballparks and that they charge fees for families.
Wait a minute. They charge fees for citizens, for residents of Las Cruces to use the ballpark. What? I don't get that. That's what we're paying taxes for.
They're already paying taxes. And they also have a tournament recently, a softball tournament.
Okay.
They make money from that. But they don't pass any savings along to the taxpayer that I can see anywhere.
Right. You would think that money, now that was probably outside
Yeah, they
teams.
came from surrounding areas.
That's I saw lots of traffic over there at the field. So yeah, that money should be spent to pay for the parks so that people don't have to pay, even after they're paying tax money. So
that's right.
I understand that. I heard that there's a charge to use the shooting range.
Yes, because I am doing it for profit.
Right.
But I only do small classes, 2 to 4 people, 6. So when they charge you $100 for 4 hours, that would be $200. That's a lot for me. You know,
So you think money in the city could be managed much better and make it easier on the citizens themselves?
The city seems greedy, and they look at the citizen like a cash cow. Here's one that's especially arbitrary. So we all pay water bills.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
They did raise it up 24%. Now they're raising
They raised the water rents 24%.
Yeah, just back in the spring.
Wow. You see, I'm on a different system. I have Moongate Water. I'm out on East Mesa. But City Water, they raised 24%.
Yeah, so do we get better service?
I wouldn't think so.
What that is happening, though, is you get a water leak through no fault of your own. I got one when we had that freeze in February.
Okay.
And the pipe wasn't buried deep enough, so it started leaking. But both times that it happened to me, it was old watering systems, sprinkler system for the yard, so it wasn't readily available. And then one time my son fixed it. Well, they said that wasn't good enough, that they charged me an extra $22 to $26 every single month for the rest of the year. Adds up to $500 or $600 a year. Does that help a family?
I wouldn't think so.
Do you want to get penalized if you have a water leak?
Well, if it was my fault, then I guess I could understand. But I know of a person, a friend of mine, who there was construction on the road out in front of his house, and the construction on the road actually damaged the pipe, created the leak, and he was running water he didn't even know about. And so he got charged.
All of this tells you that they're not service-oriented, they're not taxpayer-friendly, and we pay the bills.
No, I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
so we deserve a little respect.
Well, not only that. When I was 19
we deserve
years,
a lot of respect.
Okay. When I was 19 years old, I knew how to balance a checkbook. I had families to raise, but it doesn't seem like the city knows how to balance its checkbook.
Oh, well, they have reserves. One of the other candidates said that they were hoarding it. That's how I see it. They're hoarding the money, and they keep taking it from the taxpayer and hoarding this money. And they have investments. There was some mention of $29 million, you know, from just, that was like 2014.
Well,
I was at the state level, actually. But it happens at the state level. It's this state.
Well, I know one thing that they took money from our Telshore Fund.
Right.
That is rent
it was
money,
supposed to be for
lease or rent money that's coming from Memorial Hospital. And that, I understand, that was supposed to be earmarked for a facility for mental health. Yet the facility never got underway. And not long ago, we spent $2 million or $1 million of the Telshore Fund to pay for the transients, the asylum seekers that are moving through New Mexico. It's like, why didn't we take care of the citizens?
In the meantime, that facility was built, and it's still not funded to have it operational.
If they can pull $2 million out like that for something that is not U.S. citizens or not our citizens of Las Cruces, why can't they utilize that
Why isn't
fund?
that a priority?
Well, when you get in there, when you're mayor, take care of this problem.
Okay, another thing I heard from one of the other mayoral candidates that I thought was pretty shocking was, so we have this City of Hope out there, and it's tents, okay?
Well, it's
because
wooden
of code, they
structures,
can't actually Well, it's not enclosed.
No, it's not. It has one
It's
side
not on the
open.
floor. And
Oh.
why can't they do that for just a little bit more cost? Why couldn't they finish it? Because of their own regulations. So, but they, I heard, are getting federal money, and they're busing homeless people here.
The more people, the more homeless that are here, the more federal money comes in. So if they keep bringing in people, they keep making more money.
Isn't that pretty wild?
That's pretty corrupt.
So the reason that I was thinking of that is because I saw this homeless person walk by my place of business a couple of times, and then I saw him up at the Quick Stop. And he was just sitting there on the curb, and he had a deck of cards, and he had a tray, and he had these same colored rocks that were kind of uniform, and he had them all arranged very orderly. Not normal. So it tells me that he needs mental health care.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, if you take care of mental health, you will
It was
reduce
a little bit
crime,
scary.
drug use, family separations, all kinds of things
And
that would
then
benefit.
they can die out on the streets too. We've been seeing that.
Sure. And we've got veterans, homeless. Well, I don't know
Right.
that we have homeless veterans, but we have veterans that need help with mental health issues, PTSD. There's a lot of mental health issues.
Okay, I understand helping the asylum seekers, but that money would have been small houses
Well,
or the City of Hope, and they can go and fix their code, roll back their regulation, and close in a house, a floor and 4 walls and a roof. That's better than a tent.
I don't know what the regulations are, so
Well,
I can't.
they
comment.
can-
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Again, it's mismanagement of funds.
Yeah, they don't obey the law when it comes to things like the election law, but they do when it comes to helping people. I mean, the priorities.
Okay, election
That's what
law.
I want to get to.
So elections is something that a lot of people are upset with. This last election that we had,
That's right.
8,000 ballots, I think, turn up at the last minute of absentee ballots.
Right.
You have people that they've never really cleaned up the voter rolls. Can you talk about that?
Well, let me start with my story, because back in 2013 is the first time I ran for city council.
Okay.
My kids were in college, and I was a little concerned about things that I didn't think were good for us, so I
Right.
ran. And I got up close and personal to the city election process, and the manipulation and the dishonesty was shocking. So go from there. I helped participate in a recall, which, by the way, now it's almost impossible to do a recall because
Really?
they keep changing the law to keep themselves in power.
Okay, hold on to that thought,
Okay.
because we're going to take a short break and then we're going to come back and we'll continue about voter fraud and voter ID and things
We
like
need
that.
photo voter ID.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, folks, we'll be right back after a short break with Bev Courtney, who's running for Las Cruces City Mayor, and we are going to talk about voter integrity. We'll be right back. There you go.
So great. You can do all these different gears like one hand.
Okay.
Nice.
Guys, not all, but
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here! Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here!
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Hi folks, welcome back to the Candidates Forum. I'm Dave Gallus, the host today, and we're here with Bev Courtney for Mayor of Las Cruces. So we got elections coming up, very important elections, folks. Make sure you get out. November 5th is election day, but we've already, today I think we've started early elections, and I believe that starts at the county building. Later on, then you'll be able to vote at convenience centers after, I don't know when it starts, but anyway, voting's coming up. Make sure you get information on the candidates, what their policies are. We're here with Bev. We've talked about a lot of things over the past shows. We were talking about corruption in city council, and now we're going to focus on voter identification and how do we make sure that our voting integrity is correct.
Yes, looking in history, which I already mentioned, that one of the county clerks resigned. Before that, you know, the employees were found of guilty of criminal conduct, stealing identities.
Stealing identities for voting.
And so that's an issue that I am concerned with, is identity theft.
Sure.
It causes you a lot of trouble
Sure.
if somebody gets it. And my son actually did have identity theft of his tax.
Taxes? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I don't
Sure.
know if they paid them out. They never would explain to us whatever happened. We had to provide documentation. So photo voter ID, what I would like to see is that we provide proof of citizenship.
Sure. Proof of the person.
Yes. So
I mean, and it can be done because I saw on TV you had Maduro, who's the dictator of Venezuela. He had to put his thumb on a machine for a thumbprint before he could get his ballot. Now, if Venezuela, who's fallen apart, can do it, we can do it if we want.
well, if you get your concealed carry license, you have to send them your birth certificate. It has to be official.
Yeah.
So, or a passport.
And I would say license would be a good thing, but since we had Governor Richardson, he allowed
They do give licenses.
undocumented illegals a driver's license. Now that's about the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
So now we got the real ID, and if you go get it, apparently you have to provide extra
Identification.
identification.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Well, what's more important than that? I've heard in the last election, the midterm elections, that people would go to vote and on voting day, and they would go and talk to the people and say, okay, they give them your name. It says, no, you've already voted absentee. And they said, I never voted absentee.
I would call that disenfranchisement.
Well, what happens is...
And I heard that a lot. There was a lot of incident reports on that.
A lot of, and people will actually vote absentee for somebody, and it's not them. When the person comes in to vote, they'll say, well, no, I didn't vote, so they'll give them a provisional ballot. That's a handwritten ballot. They'll send that in, but then I've heard the corruption is where the absentee ballot is kept, which is the fraudulent ballot, but the one that's the provisional ballot, which is the true ballot, is tossed out.
Yeah, and that canvassing process is long and arduous. And
canvassing is when you actually go through, physically go through and verify the ballots.
And you're supposed to have people representing both.
All parties.
All parties.
Yes, and that should happen this year. We've got people that from both sides that are going to be canvassing. So.
But it isn't easy to catch the fraud.
I hear you.
And now it's online registration. So they just recently have been passing laws at the state legislature to make it easier for people to vote. Well, it makes it easier for other people to vote, but I think it disenfranchises the U.S. citizen.
Makes it easier for fraud.
So one thing they did is same-day registration. It's going to be hard to verify that citizen.
Well, it's going to be a provisional ballot, I believe.
If you think about it, nobody's actually a verified voter in the state of New Mexico because you don't have to present any kind of ID.
I heard you have to put up a bill, a utility bill.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
It's about the system.
You can borrow one from the neighbor.
Well, to me, it's
anybody can pay that.
If the database is correct, that's where it's okay. But who's to say that the database is correct?
Right.
So, and you've got people that are dead that are voting, people that have moved out of state that are voting multiple times. So until you get that cleared up.
Well, and so why is the state legislature, they say they don't want to disenfranchise people, but when you have non-citizens voting, you have multiple people voting. You have maybe paid voters because they don't really take the time to fill it out. They don't care and they don't know
They
what's
just wanna
happening
get
in
paid.
the political election.
Yeah.
Nursing homes, hospice, all of those places, they may be exploiting people. But so anyway, what I was going to say is that they passed a law also about same-day registration. They also said that the DMV can automatically sign people up to vote, which is probably pretty good, that one, because they will have the updated address when you go get a new license and identification.
Okay.
But why Human and Health Resources Department? Why should they register people?
Well, from what I understand, there's a database. When people die, they're in this database. When you have other money that's given to them from the state or the federal government, that's a database. Then you have driver's license, that's a database. All this should be combined to make sure that these are correct voter rolls, but they don't do that. Now, the president issued an order, an executive order, I think, for voter
Yes,
identification. I forget what the name of it is.
It was his election panel.
Yes, and Mike Pence was supposed to head
They
it,
will have citizens.
but some states refuse to turn over their voter
Well,
rolls.
the New Mexico Secretary of State did refuse it.
Well, why?
Why?
Don't
I
you
know.
want to know what the truth is about voting?
I don't know why they bothered to ask her. I think they should have just went to the county clerks and bought it.
Well, I have a solution. Any state that doesn't
Good.
any state that doesn't turn over the voters' rolls should not be allowed to vote in a federal election. In other words, they won't have a say who gets
Oh, who's
made president,
president.
vice president. So that
Well-
would straighten them up.
I want to vote for the president.
I do too. I do too.
Back to the Human Services Department. I understand that they give them a packet with everybody that comes through that office. They're taking in the asylum seekers because we all know that the non-citizens that are coming as asylum seekers, whatever capacity they came in, they get welfare. I call it subsidized labor. They get welfare, they get a sponsor, and then they're probably put to work for $4 an hour. I mean,
Well, that's not right.
but let me tell you something. They might be unwittingly exploited because if they register to vote, it's a 4th-degree felony.
Whoa.
They will get deported and they will lose any right to become an American citizen.
So they are being exploited. If they are aware of what the penalties are for this, and they should also prosecute the people that are selling
doing
that.
it. I
Yes.
agree.
Yes.
I absolutely agree. And we've had, how many come through here? Did you have those? Thousands.
I have no idea. Thousands, yes.
Thousands, and we don't know how many
Well,
are
if
still
we're spending
here.
$1 million, no, 75,000, I think, and then $1 million, so it's $1,075,000. That's a lot of people to move through. I mean, I don't know what transportation costs, but it can't be that much. And there's temporary housing, and they opened up that armory. That armory should have been used to help our citizens.
And so when they get wherever they're going, whether they stay here or there, the first thing that their sponsors do is help them go take advantage of our system. There's a place called Fair Vote that's on Twitter.
Right.
They've got numbers, and you don't have to have an ID. So,
Jeez. Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's fraud with
It's
corruption.
a criminal offense. And they are losing, it's been taken from them, a right to actually, what they're coming here for is for equal opportunity, equal justice under the law, and they're being exploited and denied.
I
It's not acceptable.
I questioned the mayor of Miyagishima when the money went from the Telshore Fund to cover the expenses for the transportation or housing of the asylum seekers. And I understand that most of the asylum seekers will not be allowed to use that asylum law because they don't qualify. But anyway, they're here. So I questioned the mayor. I said, Mr. Mayor, he says, we didn't have any choice in the matter. I said, well, you didn't say anything when Santa Fe was told that they were going to take them, they refused to take them. Santa Fe is a sanctuary city. Now, we're close to that because we're called a welcoming city. I don't know that there's a big difference, but...
Between that and the same.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, if Santa Fe can refuse them, why can't Las Cruces refuse them? Why couldn't our mayor stand up and say, no, we're not going to take
And
them?
those same people are the open border advocates. And they talk about the children that are separated from their family, but what about the 31% that have been sold to be used at the border to
sex trafficking?
get through? 31%.
Sure. Yeah.
And 30% of the women are all raped. What about those?
Jeez, talk about exploiting. And
That's
there are
why
people,
so many men come through with children. That's just not normal.
I was down
They
at the
bought
border for
those
a couple
kids.
nights, and there was a small family of 6, and the father was, well, I guess it was the father, assumed to be the father, had this tiny baby clutched so tight, it was almost as if he thought I was going to try and take the baby away. It's like, what's going on here? I doubt very much that that was really the parents, but...
Well, 30% of the time, it's not.
yeah, I hear you.
And so they ignore those victims and aggrandize some. You know, it's not honest.
No, I hear you.
So what we need is photo voter ID. 35 states have it, and Arizona requires that you prove your citizenship. I would like to see that in the state of New Mexico, so that the taxpayers, we vote for the policies and the regulations and the laws that benefit us. When you have the citizens making the decisions, we will stay strong and we'll stay united, and we can practice humanitarian aid.
Sure.
But it's just like if you're giving to your children or your neighbors, you can't give them what you don't have.
That's right.
You know, so you've got to make sure you take care of yourself first, and that gives you a position of strength and prosperity to take care of other people in need.
It makes a lot of sense. Well,
That's the priority.
Bev, we're getting close to the end of the show. Now, how can people help you in your campaign?
Well, we want to have fun. So my next fundraiser is October the 18th.
Okay.
And this is a $15 ticket. And you can call me at 642-1003 or stop by my shop at 2645 Missouri Avenue. And
Is this a special event?
it's a special event. So, but you have to have a ticket to get in. It's
Okay.
$15.
The fashion show?
Yes. It's
Okay.
called A Walk in My Shoes.
Oh.
And I'm going to explain why I've ended up running 4 times. Just think of me of rising out of the ash heap of...
The Phoenix.
No.
Okay. Well, isn't that what the Phoenix did?
No.
Okay.
Well, the Phoenix did, but ashes of defeat.
Well,
it's
you're
a
not,
good thing.
You're not going yet, so... All right, well, we're just about out of time. Is there a website where they can reach you?
Bev Courtney for New Mexico.
Number 4 or spelled out the word 4?
I thought it was spelled, I think it's number 4.
All right,
I think
well,
I made a
folks, try it
mistake
both
last week.
ways. Okay. All right, folks. Well, look, we'll see you next time. This was with Bev Courtney.
Thank you.
Oh,
for
you're
having
welcome,
me.
Bev. Good luck, and I'd like to
Thank
see
you.
you up in the mayor's seat up there.
Woohoo.
Bev Courtney for mayor. See you next time.
I'm Bev Courtney, and I approve this message. Carol Cooper, Treasurer.